Hello, I hope you're doing well this evening. I am feeling really a bit ill. So I just want to sit there and ask you, who do you think is the F1 GOAT? Because I don't even know what to say at the moment. I'm not feeling super well. Hello, this is Crystal Racing. Put down in the chat, who do you think is the greatest driver of all time? Now, there's been many great drivers. Kimi Raikkonen. All right. Okay, Schumacher, Senna, Fangio, Hamilton, Jim Clark, Jackie Stewart, Adam Prost, Niki Lauda. There's plenty to choose from. Oh, and we've got one vote, and it's for Michael Schumacher. First vote of the night. Of course, you can alternatively comment in the chat, because I don't really know what to say, because I'm feeling a bit off. Hello there, this is Crystal Racing. I just want to ask you, who do you think is the F1 GOAT? Of course, Ayrton Senna won 3 championships, 41 wins. Tragically died in 1994, before, of course, he could go in a championship fight with Schumacher. Schumacher, 7 times champion. Left Ferrari after 2006. Okay, his stint at Mercedes wasn't great, but he was an old man by that point, and I think Nico Rosberg was beginning to come into his own at that point, and the Mercedes of the early 2010s was a very understeery car that was more built for Jenson Button's driving style. Then, of course, you got Lewis Hamilton. Okay, he did become a bit of a stat pad merchant, if I'm going to be honest, but he did win 6 drivers' championships with Mercedes. I know he's not exactly the most popular man around the F1 community for various reasons, but he's definitely a GOAT contender. Juan Manuel Fangio is definitely in with a shout. 5 championships, and what was it? I think he completed 7 full seasons of Formula One, but he won 24. He claimed 24 wins in just 51 starts, or whatever it was. One of the best win percentage in the sport. Arguably, I think also the best pole position percentage. Hello there, Merch Masada Vlogs. I hope you're doing well this evening. I am feeling a bit under the weather with hay fever, really high pollen count over here in Britain. I hope you're doing well. I'm not honestly feeling that well, if I'm going to be very frank with you. 2 Schumacher votes. Yeah, I mean, I'm feeling ill, I'm afraid, so be unfortunate, but I'll struggle on for this stream. I don't know who else. Jackie Stewart won 3 championships in 9 seasons of the sport, 27 wins. I think he overtook Jim Clark's record of 25 wins when he took 27 wins in the 60s and the 70s. But of course, he was a great safety campaigner, and he was really a huge... Okay, you can ask me something. You're absolutely free to ask me what you want. Yes, you can, Merch. Hello there, Say Rigora. I hope you're doing well this evening. Oh, look at that. A vote for Hamilton and a vote for Fangio have come in. Don't know, you're free to ask me a question, you know. What do you mean, play with you? I don't know what you're talking about there, my friend. Anyway, I'm going to continue. Jackie Stewart, 27 wins. Drove for Ken Tyrrell's team throughout most of his career. Drove a Matra, which was ran by Ken Tyrrell. Spent his career driving cars powered by Cosworth engines by the Ford company. I think he was Graham Hill was the first driver to win a Ford drive a car with a Ford Cosworth engine. Oh, right, you've heard the news about Adrian Newey. So, okay, yeah, I think we all know Adrian Newey's never been that keen on Ferrari, but... Oh, he died 29 years ago today. Blimey, 29 years ago. I didn't even realise it. Today was the anniversary of Banjo's death. That is some absolutely interesting timing there. Of course, he won. Banjo won 5 championships with 4 separate teams. Mercedes, Maserati, Ferrari using the Lancia chassis, and of course Alfa Romeo. And of course, Banjo remains one of only 2 drivers to win a championship, a drivers' championship with the Alfa Romeo manufacturers. I know Alfa Romeo came back in the late 70s and stayed around until the mid 80s, where they had no success with people like Bruno Giacometti and what was his name? Andrea De Cesaris, but they won no races. Alonso, Alonso, well, I have to say, the word underachievement definitely comes into mind with Alonso. Skill-wise, yes, Alonso is a great driver, but the guy really has gained a reputation for himself as one of the great nearly men of the sport. A combined total of 7 points away from winning 5 championships. Oh yes, and how can I forget? What day is? Yeah, today's the anniversary of George Bianchi's death. Thank you for reminding me, Serigara. It's now been 9 years since he tragically passed away in hospital. How can I forget? Damn, when I heard that news about Bianchi's death 9 years ago, I really was just... It's a very sad moment because, of course, he was destined to eventually drive for Ferrari one day. I am quite aware that had he gone on to race for Ferrari, Kimi Raikkonen probably would have left the sport or might have gone and joined another team like, I don't know, Force India or something. Hell, he could have ended up going to Sauber much earlier than he did. Maybe around, like, I don't know, 2017, he could have ended up going to Sauber. Lauda was the only one that proved Boeing wrong when one of their plane crashes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Yeah, Niki Lauda, I wouldn't say he's the greatest driver of all time, but he does deserve recognition for the way he, along with Jackie Stewart, was a great campaigner for safety, you know, protesting the Nürburgring Nordschleife circuit due to being so long and so dangerous for Formula One, not fit for purpose. Just in the same way Jackie Stewart protested the old Spa circuit, which was about 9 miles long. Alonso, top 12 easily, yeah, but this is a problem with Alonso. I think there are a couple of flaws about Alonso, and I'm not just talking about his relationships with his team bosses. I think I need to talk about the fact that the guy has never been a truly great qualifier, which is, I wouldn't say that necessarily stops you from being a great driver, but it has been at times a limiting factor to some of Alonso's performances where, let's say a rival qualifies second, and then on average, Alonso qualifies 5th. That doesn't, I mean, he's always having to overtake at least 2 or 3 cars throughout the race, or like jump through them, during the pit stops. I mean, I look through this. Michael Schumacher is definitely on top. 4 votes have gone to him. Thank you for the like, whoever has given me a like. I'd put Michael Schumacher second, to be fair. I don't know, who would you put number 1 then, Mr. Agora? I mean, Adam Prost could be an option, but I've not picked Adam Prost because I just figured that most people wouldn't pick him. Personally, and I think it's time to confirm my options, I think it's a mix-up between Adam Prost and Juan Manuel Fangio for me. Fangio and Prost have got to be my top 2 best drivers the sport's ever seen. I mean, racecraft, second to none for both drivers. Oh, Fangio first, yeah. I mean, Fangio and his stats were just absolutely amazing. Hiya, Toby. Yeah, it's called MPB. The I don't know. I know some Sebastian Vettel fanboy or fangirl would probably put their man in this conversation, but yeah, I mean, even though he's got 4 championships, it's just sort of the number of mistakes and errors happening at his time at Ferrari was a massive concern. And his general racecraft became quite horribly exposed. Kind of why I never read why it was quite awkward being a Kimi Räikkönen fan when Kimi was teammates with Vettel, because it was just like, I'm just sitting there thinking, why the hell is Kimi Räikkönen number 2 to this guy? Like, the only reason Kimi ended up becoming number 2 was because Kimi's pace had just disappeared by his late 30s, so six to eight. I don't know why on earth. I don't even know where this is such a tricky legacy Vettel has got, because for me, I always felt like Vettel was a driver who was achieving more than what he was actually capable, who was winning races at a faster rate than he was actually developing as a driver in terms of his skills. I mean, it always felt so weird to think that at the age of 26, he was already a 4-time champion and he had like 39 wins. Max Verstappen's style of driving or his style of his behavior, I think it's just a bit too brutish and a bit too aggressive for my taste. Of course, he can definitely become the greatest driver of all time if he wants. But, you know, very egocentric, very much. I mean, obviously having Sergio Perez as a teammate, does it make him look better than he really? Does Perez make Max look better than he really is? Possibly, but we have to remember, you know, he did used to have Ricciardo, and he did have quite a few close battles when they were teammates together. But of course, Max was only like 20 years old. Of course, Max has matured into a great driver, but is that the core or is that Max? It's really hard to tell because I do have to question his opposition right now. Norris bottling 5 wins this year at least. Leclerc being stuck at Ferrari. Mercedes not being fully competitive until recently. Alonso stuck at Aston Martin. Oh yeah, I did forget. 2009 Vettel was in the championship, but of course he did lose the championship very narrowly. And I do remember him saying that it was a regret of his to miss out on the 2009 championship because he felt like he was closer that year than he ever was during 2017 and 2018 when he was at Ferrari. Yeah, thank you very much, Golden Bureau. Always great to help. I mean, I know some people compared Max Verstappen to Kimi Raikkonen, but I don't really think. I mean, Kimi Raikkonen's always been a lot bit more cleaner for my taste. He's always been a lot more. I don't know. But yeah, anyway. Other contenders for goal, of course, Jim Clark drove in the sport during the 60s, 25 wins, 2 World Championships, could have been at least 4 or 5 had it not been for car and reliability issues at Lotus. Absolutely, genuinely unbeatable on his day, but of course we have to remember he was driving at a time when the grid mostly consisted of Brits, Frenchmen, Italians, Americans, South Africans, and maybe a couple of Australians. So it wasn't exactly a very particularly global sport at the time. It was more just 6 or 7 countries providing drivers at the time. It wasn't 7 or 8, depending if you count Canada and New Zealand. There were no Finnish drivers. I don't think there were many Germans and I don't think there were any Spaniards driving in F1 around Jim Clark's time. Mario Andretti's a great shout, but that's more I would call a motorsport. A goat of motorsport, I beg your pardon. You know, Mario Andretti competing in IndyCar, NASCAR, Le Mans, F1. I think Mario Andretti, how many IndyCar championships did he win? Was it 5, 6? I don't know. I think AJ Foyt won like 7 IndyCar championships, depending on what you count as the IndyCar series. You know, the All Americans Association, the AAA, CART, CART. It's a bit of a complicated one, but looking at IndyCar statistics, because they had so many different organisations running the sport. And of course, between 1996 and 2007, there were 2 organisations calling themselves IndyCar, which has made everything so complicated because Tony George decided to create the Indy Racing League, whilst the likes of Penske, Andretti, Green, and Chip Ganassi were still competing in kart, which has made it such a mess and destroyed IndyCar's reputation in the States. I absolutely agree that Vettel was driving well around 2015 and 2017, but the problem was during the 4 years he had Kimi Raikkonen as a teammate, the gap got closer and closer and smaller as the years went past between Kimi and Seb, despite the fact that Kimi was 39 years old by the time he departed Ferrari, so that's not exactly good for Vettel's reputation, I'm afraid. Yeah, I think everyone agrees that Sterling Moss is the GOAT of the non-champions. It's so obvious. 4 runners-up in his career. It's like, that guy had a far better career than at least 40% of drivers who become champions. Like, you know, Phil Hill, Mike Hawthorne, Keke Rosberg. He clearly beats those drivers. hell, he probably even beat someone like Jody Scheckter, Mario Andretti, just because he won 16 races. And his only problem was that early on in his career, he had to face Fangio, who was just simply quicker than him. He had to go up against Mike Hawthorne, who was driving for for Ferrari in what was a very reliable Ferrari car at the time, while Sterling Moss was driving for, like, I don't know, after he left Maserati, he was driving for Vanwall, who withdrew from the sport after Stuart Lewis Evans' tragic death. And then, of course, he went and drove for Rob Walker and drove, I don't know, using a Cooper or a Lotus with cars that were not very reliable. And then he lost 2 championships to Jack Brabham. And I think in 1960, he broke his leg. And then after one more season in 1961, where he had absolutely no chance against Ferrari's new shock nose car, where, of course, the engines were reduced to 1.5 litres. And Ferrari were the only team who actually prepared a good engine for the new Formula. Sterling Moss had no chance, but he did win at Monaco and at the Nürburgring that year. But then, of course, sadly, I think after 1961, he had that very horrible accident at Goodwood, which ended his career because, of course, Sterling Moss then did another test about 6 months after the accident, and he felt like he lost his speed. And Moss wasn't willing to risk his life anymore after that at the age of 30. I would admit, I think the GOAT debate is something of a popularity contest, if I'm going to be honest. I do remember, like, reading something in F1 magazine back in 2008 where apparently Kimi Räikkönen was actually ranked in 8th place, apparently. Or was it 7th? Like, Kimi Räikkönen was someone that they noted down as potentially having an extremely, potentially going on to real greatness after he won the 2007 championship. I will say this in defense of Lewis Hamilton, in that between 2007 and 2021, he always managed to win a race. The McLaren MP424 of 2009 was a really poor car in the first half of the season. Obviously, when they put upgrades on the car, just like the MP419, like they did for Kimi Räikkönen, Hamilton then went and won a couple of races with them. 2013, of course, I think he was like competing with Nico Rosberg, so it was a bit harder for him to really stand out. And Rosberg definitely ran him close, and I think Rosberg winning the championship in 2016 definitely pushed Hamilton to the next level. I have to say, I think it's really hard to assess Hamilton's career because I don't think Hamilton's been like a super great team leader in terms of leading the engine side and the engineering side and the feedback side. But I think as he got older, he became a lot more mature and a lot more like slightly less egotistical, if you will. I'm trying to think. So you have Fangio first, Schumacher second, Hamilton third. Where on earth would you have Ayrton Senna in that equation for the GOAT debate? I can't remember, but I think I drew up a list and I actually put Ayrton Senna, and I know this sounds crazy, but I think I actually put Ayrton Senna all the way down in 10th place. I'm not kidding, because honestly, I know Ayrton Senna was a speed demon, but the guy did have a lot of really stupid accidents throughout his career. And I'm just looking this through, like, if I was a team boss and I wanted to employ, like, any of these drivers in their peak, Like, I would prefer to have a peak Jim Clark, a peak Jackie Stewart, or a peak Nicky Lauda over Ayrton Senna, because I don't think Ayrton Senna was as good as race management as some of the other drivers in their peak. I really don't. And you have to realise, in the 2 years he spent at McLaren, he was outscored in both seasons by Alain Prost. Like, Alain Prost definitely knew how to look after a car way better than Senna did. And of course, the 1988 championship was given to Senna because of the best of 11 results rule. So even though Prost scored more points in the year, because Senna won more races, the championship went to Senna. Yeah, I mean, Hamilton's been really lucky with the Mercedes, like being so quick in both qualifying and the race trim. It's like, how many pole positions does he have? Over 100? I'm sure he's got well over 100. But funnily, with Hamilton, is that I actually think he's better over race distance than he is in qualifying, especially when you take into consideration the fact that Nico Rosberg and George Russell have been able to remain very competitive in qualifying battles against Hamilton. It's really odd to say, because I don't think Lewis Hamilton is actually like as much as a master of qualifying like Ayrton Senna or even maybe Sebastian Vettel, to be honest, because Vettel always was quick in qualifying. I think the only time Vettel lost out in a qualifying battle was probably against Leclerc for about a couple of years, but that was more because Ferrari wanted Sebastian Vettel to leave the team. And I know there's been conspiracy theories about Vettel having his car sabotaged during parts of 2019 and certainly 2020, when it was announced that Carlos Sainz would replace him. Six or seven, oh my god, well, how many? 6 times 17, 102, oh my god. How many pole positions does Lewis Hamilton have? Is he 110? Oh my goodness me, blimey. I mean, I know for certain Lewis Hamilton was quicker in qualifying against someone like Fernando Alonso. Like, he won the qualifying battle against Alonso in 2007. Bob against Russell and Rosberg. I think he just about, well, it's been we was fairly even Stevens between the pair of them. In both Hamilton and Russell, and both Hamilton and Rosberg. I live in the UK, my friend. I hope you're doing well this evening, Ghost Tanker, wherever you are from the world. And I see there are a lot of I don't have the tools with my with what I'm recording this with to make you a mod. But I hope you're doing well, Fishy Gamer. I mean, I think I've already seen you and Ghost Tanker for the first time ever on my stream, and of course MVD Golden Bureau for the very first time on this stream. Toby, not a fan of what you just asked me, but anyway. But yeah, you're all welcome to watch this channel. Comment, do whatever you want, ask me any questions. I know some people have occasionally thrown Nelson Piquet's name around on these sort of discussions, but 23 wins is sort of kind of more of an indicative of a beating Shreddies and with this at Pro Coconut soy yogurt. Of course, I don't really like soy yogurt, but someone bought it me, so I don't have much of a choice. But anyway, also big, 23 wins in about, 13 years of F1. Unfortunately, he is a lot more infamous for some of the comments he's made about Lewis Hamilton in recent times. Who is my favourite F1 driver? Currently, it is Pierre Gasly, but of course, until 2021, it was the guy who won the 2007 F1 World Championship. Oh my god, Vettel versus Alonso. Vettel won more races and he won more championships, but he had Adrian Newey designing his cars. But whenever we've seen Alonso drive a midfield car or a car that was deemed to be uncompetitive, I think we all know there's only one winner in that debate, and it's Fernando Alonso. It's not because I like Alonso, you know what I think of Alonso, but the guy's driving skills really are something to marvel at. Even if his technical feedback skills, and his ability to cultivate a good team environment and a good relationship with his engineers have been very questionable at times. I think Vettel, on the other hand, was much better at team relations, better social skills. But as a driver, I would definitely go for Alonso. Kimi Raikkonen could have been an F1 GOAT contender had McLaren designed a car that could actually stay working properly for longer than 20 laps, along with Mercedes' poor engine designs between like 2003 and 2006. Absolute nightmare. I think 2002 has to go into the equation, I'm afraid. And I know if it wasn't for some things that happened during 2008, where it was rumoured that Ferrari was sabotaging Kimi's car in order to get Santander to sponsor the team so that they could go and sign Fernando Alonso. Maybe Kimi could have had 4 championships. I know that sounds outrageous, especially when you remember the sort of driver Kimi was towards the end of his time in F1. But, you know, I will always defend my man until the end of time. I only support Pierre Gasly for the sake of trying to prove people wrong who still think he's a bomb because of his performances between himself and Verstappen. But honestly, if Pierre Gasly never finishes on the podium again, I'm not even going to be that bothered. It doesn't feel the same for me now that Kimi's gone. I don't know, mate. I mean, the thing is, Vettel kind of came and went very quickly. Like, I think Vettel's peak was far too short to be truly sustainable, and I think Vettel's driving style only worked with like a certain couple of cars. Fernando Alonso, on the other hand, has a more adaptable driving style, which has always worked with different cars like the Renaults, the McLarens, the Ferraris, and of course the Alpines and the Aston Martins. Even if you think as a character he's a total, I'm not even going to say it, but for me, if you had to like throw Alonso into like some car that had like the handling properties of a golf buggy or something, he would probably still complete a very good lap time in it. That's the sort of driver he is. Vettel, on the other hand, needed everything to be bespoke made, perfectly well-rounded, of course. Oh, so who do you think is the GOAT, my friend? Username 132. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. Nicholas GOAT Tiffy, yeah. My lord, absolute classic case of The streets will not forget a true icon of our time, Nicholas Latifi, showing everyone how to drive a Williams. Oh yes, Nicholas Latifi, what a driver. Streets will not forget. Thing is with Formula One is, of course, the drivers do need a very good engineer and a team to back them to win a championship and to get #1 status. I think if we're talking about those ingredients, Michael Schumacher, Lewis Hamilton, and Sebastian Vettel did their job perfectly when it came to those aspects. Now, whether Ayrton Senna would have lived, he could have had 4, 5, 6, 7 championships, who knows, of course. I think Ayrton Senna was probably the type of bloke who only really wanted to just get past Fangio's record, which at the time was 5 championships. I think Senna probably would have stopped after like getting 6 world championships, realising he had nothing more to give after like 1997 had he lived. Bono! Bono! Oh my god, I've got no brakes, I've got no power. But you know what happened, of course? I mean, it's really funny to think about a 2020 British Grand Prix when Lewis Hamilton actually had a tyre punch on the last lap. And it actually came after Lewis Hamilton didn't even shout on the radio. Like the one time he actually had a tyre puncture, he wasn't even complaining about tyres, funnily enough. That's the biggest irony about that tyre punch he had on that final lap where he somehow managed to hold on for victory that day. What the hell? Yeah, well, I mean, who would have thought that Kimi would never win another championship after 2007, what's going on there, Scuderia for Warzy? You screwing around with your drivers, managing your team like a circus, you know, telling everyone how you're the best team in the business, how you have more championships, how you're the only team to hung around since 1950, but yet you couldn't even run a brewery. Oh, right, you've only been watching since 2022. Oh, damn, you've missed out on the entirety of Kimi Räikkönen's career. But funny thing I can tell you is that when I started watching Formula One, I had missed out on the entirety of the careers of John Alesi and Mika Häkkinen by the time I started watching. I have never seen those two race an F1 car live in my life. But of course, from what I've heard from other people, they were both very good drivers, and so was Johnny Herbert, apparently. Although, of course, Johnny Herbert was basically a bit like Daniel Ricciardo back in the day, where he was always the master of winning races after others had broken down. Although, unfortunately for Johnny Herbert, he doesn't have a close friendship with Daniel Ricciardo like Natalie Pinkham has. The problem is, though, I have watched so much F1 to the point that I do find it really, really kind of. I do find myself becoming more prone to getting bored by watching the sport than other people, I'm afraid, because I have just so much knowledge about the sport. It's just very hot. I mean, there are days where I wake up and I hear, oh, yeah, in a couple of days' time, there's going to be another Grand Prix on, and I'm just like, damn, I've watched so many races now. I think I've watched like 400 races now, or at least like some of the races I won't even be watching the TV screen due to the fact that I don't have a Sky Sports feed, so I'll be listening to someone like Chazza HD talk about the races instead. Or I'd be listening to radio, or I'd be watching someone else's YouTube stream where they tell me the details of what's happening on track, and I would just sit there and stare at the lap times instead. Schumacher still leading easily, 11 votes out of 20. what a legacy Schumacher had in his career, going to Ferrari, building the team back up after nearly 2 decades in the doldrums, bringing Ross Brawn and Rory Byrne with him, ruling the team like an iron fist. Of course, he also brought Nigel Stepney and a couple of other people, and of course, John Todd was there. Basically, running Ferrari like a British team. And my God, did it work, because they ended up with 5 Drivers' Championships and 6 Constructors' titles. And what was it? Only Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes were able to overtake their records, pretty much using the same blueprint, by the way. So it's not like, I mean, Michael Schumacher can sit there and say, yeah, I did it first. Yeah, I think the way you name 132, I think you sound a bit like me when I was back in, like, what was it, 2002 and 2003 when I first started watching Formula 1. I could not stop watching Formula 1. I was obsessed. Like, all my family members were really concerned about me when I was a kid. I'm not kidding. I would constantly play, like, video games revolving around racing cars. I'd be collecting books about the sport. I was the first to know about the fact that Kimi Räikkönen got married in 2004. I was the first to know about the fact that Fernando Alonso had signed for Renault, replacing Jenson Button. I was one of those kids who were one of the very few to know that Williams actually had a BMW engine that was more powerful than the engine that Ferrari or McLaren had with Mercedes. Oh my God, I used to be an absolute bona fide F1 geek. And nowadays, whenever I like sit there and I get told something about engine or car updates, I'm just like, oh yeah, whatever. I just don't care now. I'm like, all that information now just goes one ear in, one ear out. I mean, I will say, if I'm very thankful about my time as an F1 fan, is that I'm very thankful that I got to see the entirety of Kimi Räikkönen's career, except for his first year in 2001 at Sauber. To witness such greatness and driving skill before my very eyes on terrestrial TV, on British ITV. Damn, what a driver, what a driver. He never let me down. Kimi Räikkönen never let me down, nor disappointed me, not even once. And I mean, obviously, whenever the car broke down, I always blamed the team. Or if he had a bad strategy, I would always blame the team. I think the thing with football is that you have to take a bit more responsibility when your team loses. It's kind of obvious your team screwed up. And you have to realise, even if you blame a couple of individuals, it's obvious the team just wasn't playing well enough. And it's only on rare occasions that you can blame the referee if they do something extremely stupid. Yeah, it's a shame, obviously. If you were born in, like, 2007... damn, you missed out on some bloody goddamn race, some really good racing between the likes of Alonso, Schumacher, Montoya, DC, Barrichello, Kimi, of course. Did I mention Kimi Räikkönen? Of course, none of my streams could ever go without the mention of that great man's name. The greatest driver Finland ever produced. Sorry, man. Oh my lord. If you've ever, like, watched a Chazza HD live stream with me and the likes of Sarah Gara commenting all the time, everyone will be like, oh my God, you really are a Kimi fanboy, aren't you? Like, I would celebrate anything Kimi did. I would be like, yeah, George Russell and Bottas had a collision. Kimi's just there, staying out of trouble, waiting to pounce when the others run into the back of each other. Oh yeah, 2010 was a great season, of course. I was supporting Mark Webber that year. I was like, come on, Mark, let's get this championship. And then, of course, Webber crashed at Valencia, and of course, he crashed at South Korea, which, I mean, apart from that, like, Mark Webber was finishing in the points every race, top 6 minimum, like, even if he failed to get on the podium, he was always 4th, 5th, and 6th, and that kept him in contention all year long. Like, I think 4 races to go, he was leading the championship. I know Sebastian Vettel was clearly the faster driver, but Mark Webber's consistency was keeping him in the fight. And then, of course, he made that awful mistake at South Korea where he spun in the wet, collided with Rosberg, and that was it for the rest of the day. And I just knew he was going to lose the championship. I'm like, Mark, mate, you can't afford crashes like that because you don't have the speed to be like finishing in the top 3, top 2 every race like Vettel does. Like, I know Vettel was having problems all year long with reliability and mistakes where, of course, he spun and crashed into Jensen Button at Belgium. But, of course, Vettel's pace was enough to, like, get him out being about trouble. God damn. And I knew when he made that error at Korea, that was absolutely game over for Webber because I'm like, you're not going to be... You don't have the speed to outpace Vettel at the age of 34. You just don't. It was always going to be a championship where Webber had to be super consistent and had to be able to keep his car on the road every race. And yeah, I mean, I will always rate Mark Webber as a better driver than someone like Felipe Massa. And if I'm going to be brutally honest, I always will rate him above someone like Jensen Button. Hell, I'd even rate him above Nico Rosberg. But of course, I am supposed to be talking about the GOAT debate. I think, I think Jacques Villeneuve, even though obviously I didn't watch F1 back in 1997 because I was just too young to even understand what the hell Formula 1 was. I mean, Jacques Villeneuve, showed signs he could be a decent driver, but of course, wrong that year, he kept making mistakes of all sorts. But of course, after 1998, he left Williams to go to BAR and he ruined his career by such a stupid career move. What's my favourite F1 engine sound from the V10s? Oh no, aside from the V10s, okay, that's off. The Ferrari V12 of the early 90s, I suppose. You know, when he had Adam Prost, Nigel Mansell, John Alesi, Gerhard Berger driving for them. I think the engine they built after, what was it? The turbos got banned with the 3.5 litre V12 engine was just beautiful. Just so high pitched, just that high revving sound, just a beautiful sound. You know what? I'm gonna go and play a bit of F1 engine music now. So again, let me just put my yogurt away and I will discuss. Listen to this sound, folks. This sound, I can't show you the TV screen for obvious copyright reasons, but John Alesi's 1995 Adelaide, Australia. I apologise for the fact that this room is dark. Yeah, I think but I will say though, the V8 engine from like, what was it, 2006 to 2013, I didn't like it because it just sounded a bit too flat and the thing is, like, the V8 engines from like the late 2000s kind of hurt my ears for some reason. And the fact they put a rev limiter on from like 2007 onwards wasn't particularly my favourite. It just made it sound like a GP2 car. You know the GP2 engines with their V8 sound. And then the engines that GP2 and Formula 2 used right until about 2018 with the Renault Mecron engines, it just sounded like that. It just sounded like, I'm just sitting there thinking, damn, this sounds like a Formula 2, Formula 3 car with the V8s. It just sounded like a step down from what the V10 sounded like. What was it? Where the hell is he? John Lacey, 1995. I will show you. I don't know if it, no, you can't see that. GP2 engine. Okay, if you want to go on YouTube, you can type in Ferrari V12 sound, Adelaide, John Lacey. I'm going to play it for you now anyway. Well, Lacey is on his fast lap now. There is the stick time on the left. Sector 1. Damon Hill's quick lap was 25.9. Yeah, boys. We'll soon see how much on or off the pace John Lacey in the Ferrari is. 24th at the present moment. Just under half a second slower than Damon Hill as he exits that. You know what? I'm going to give you like a full onboard sound of the 1995 British Grand Prix where there's no commentary. I think commentary, yeah. Oh, damn. Oh, damn, that engine, so good to listen. We're never going to hit. I mean, unless, of course, the next engine regulations in 2026 can get anything close to that. I mean, brutally honest, I don't think we'll quite get a chance to listen to an engine noise so good. But, of course, I'm now going to play you, what was it, the V10 F1 sound from, like, the late 90s to the early 2000s, my favourite sound. Oh, there's a video here. F1 sound comparison, V8, V10, V12 and V6 turbo from the 80s. Just hang on a minute. I'm just an advert playing. V8. V10. All right, you. V12. V6 turbo. Yeah, that last sound was obviously the V6 turbo. Okay, not as gratifying as listening to a more of a naturally aspirated engine. Yeah, that V10. That was like the soundtrack of my childhood, my friend. I know, obviously, the reason why V10s became so popular because they were like a decent halfway house between the fuel economy of a V8 engine, like the Ford V8 cars with the Cosworths that were used by like Benetton and Tyrrell and most of the back market teams like Minardi, who couldn't afford a big fancy engine. But it was also a good halfway house between like the V12s that were used by like Ferrari with all their money, but of course the V12s were very fuel thirsty. They consumed a lot of energy. Yeah, see you later, news name. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a good day, night, or wherever you are. The V10 was like the perfect balance between fuel economy and outright horsepower. So I think from 1996, most of the teams just started using V10 engines, and I think even Ford around 1997, when Stewart F1 came into the sport, which of course later became Jaguar, which later became Red Bull, came in with a factory new Ford C-Tech engine, which was a V10 bespoke engine, and I think that was like a sign where like basically V10 engines were like the engines to have when like even Ford and Ferrari decided to design a V10 engine around 96 and 97, because even they were forced to concede that their V8s and their V12s were no longer good enough. With like obviously from 1995 onwards, the engines were reduced to about 3 liters because of obviously concerns over safety from like Senna and Ratzenberg being deleted at Imola in 1994. And the cars were seen as being too fast, too dangerous, too powerful, and they had to like find a way of curbing the amount of power being used. And I think due to the number of paid drivers that were appearing in the sport at the time, I think the teams were very concerned that the cars were becoming a bit too much of a handful for the drivers at the back. I mean, obviously, as the years have gone on, the engines have continued to reduce in size. You know, the 2.4 liter V8s in 2006, and then of course the recent 1.6 liter turbo hybrid V6 engines that we now have on the grid. And of course, they are supplemented by all the batteries and MGU-K, MGU-H, and all the energy harvesting stuff they have on, which actually has increased the weight of the cars. Not really my preferred choice of engine, but you know, the green lobby, as I've spoken about before, has very much taken over the sport now. I mean, personally, I think, did I mention it? Yeah, I think I said Fangio and Alan Prost are my two choices for the F1 GOAT. And What else can I say? I think I'm going to have to leave it there, I'm afraid, because I don't really have much else to talk about. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, subscribe, do all the usual stuff, and I'll see you again next time.